my current organization. So about my technology stack, currently we are using Spring Boot, Microservice, Apache Kafka, and for
Mm-hmm.
backend we are using Oracle database. Now we are
Mm-hmm.
shifting to AWS and Kubernetes. So latest technologies we are using in my current project.
Okay.
We are learning and improving currently.
Okay. So you told Spring Boot, Kafka, and this thing, right? So why there is a migration to AWS? Any particular reason, or the client is keen on having to migrate to that technology? Any reason why you're
Yeah,
migrating?
because they want multiple clouds. Like also we have Google Cloud as well as Oracle
Mm-hmm.
Gaia. Now they are adding new that is AWS. Because processing what happens, they want less downtime and our system available
Mm-hmm.
throughout application process. It will never goes down. So in
Mm-hmm.
that way they are using multiple cloud. Even
Okay.
Google Cloud and Gaia we are using.
Okay. So you told Spring Boot, right? What is a specific region? I mean, like why people are using Spring Boot? Any specific reason? Why not other frameworks which are available in the market?
Okay, so Spring Boot is lightweight and it will provide us ready to work project like just we need not to worry about other dependencies and all. So it will
Mm-hmm.
take care of all those things. Apart from that, Spring provides flexibility to other technologies as well. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you want to connect with other like Hibernate, just we need to add a few fields, few properties, and we can add those. And if you want to connect to database, it is very easy. And even for security, it is providing like just we need to add starter security dependency, then it will take care of all these things. So it is lightweight and easy to, it will provide ready to work project for developers. For developer perspective, it is very helpful because we have
Okay.
just to
So
click
what are
on.
the key components of Spring Boot, Rakesh?
Okay. So key components like now in Spring Boot, what happened, we have embedded Tomcat. So we need not to configure embedded Tomcat. Apart from that, starter dependencies is the most because of which we need not to worry about the conflict between the dependencies. Earlier, legacy Spring, what happens, we need to worry about all the dependencies. If we are adding, then we need to take care of their conflicts and we have to resolve them. Otherwise, our application will not up and running. So nowadays, just we need not to worry about those things. And apart from that, we have actuators. So health check is a major concern. So whether our application is up and running. So actuator they have provided. Apart from that, CLI one of the thing by which and embedded Tomcat we can create our standalone application and configure and we can run on any specific whichever have in JVM available.
I mean, like you told about Spring Boot actuator, right? So actuators.
Yes, yes.
So do you consider actuators in your application? I mean, like how you do the health management and what metrics you have configured it actually.
Yeah, basically in my
So you were saying like you are using Dynatrace also
yes, yes, Dynatrace also, and most of the
for
time
monitoring purpose or like anything else apart from monitoring?
Splunk actually we are using like if any bug or anything comes then for logging purpose, and
Okay.
Dynatrace whenever there is required for like performance time we are doing load testing and all.
Okay. So you told about CLI, right? So what is the benefit if you use Spring Boot CLI? What benefit we get at CLI?
That CLI, like CLI is nothing but command line interface by which we can run our application. Like it is set of command is provided, and we can create and build our project. And we have jar file, and if you want to run, then just we need to use some command line, and we can run like Java hyphen jar. So set of commands. Actually, we have not recently used those commands, but I could remember like there are list of commands which we can run our application.
So apart from Spring Boot, any other Spring framework you have used in your project?
Apart from that Spring framework.
I mean, like Spring JDBC, Spring Batch.
Yeah, it's ORM like Spring Data JPA currently we're using, and apart from that, for ORM Spring JDBC template I used my like earlier projects.
Okay. So what is the advantage over normal JDBC or over like Spring JDBC? What is the advantage you get it
So
actually?
major advantage like if we are implementing implementing JDBC our own, then we need to take care of the making the connections and releasing the connection on time. Otherwise, we need to handle the what we can say exceptions as well. We have to handle. And if we are using Spring provided JDBC template or Spring Data JPA, then we need not to worry about. Just we need to Spring will take care of that, and just we need to add a few annotations there.
Okay. What about logging, Rakesh? What logging framework you have in your application?
Logging SLF4J we are using. Earlier it was Log4J, so we have removed that because of some vulnerability came.
Okay. And you told about microservice. Like, I know nowadays everywhere it is microservice. Do you think like what is the need for having a microservice? What is the advantage over earlier existing legacy system compared to the microservice? Why we go up for microservice?
Yeah, in our project, what happens? We have different microservices. If anytime I want to scale up some other some specific part of the microservice, like I want to increase processing microservices, so I can scale up that service only, and rest of the service I need not to worry about. Otherwise, in the monolithic application, what happened? We have to provide. We have cannot have this luxury to scale one service at a time, so we need to either we need to go for vertical scaling, like increase our RAM and all, and space as well. So that case, specific microservice we can increase. Apart from that, development becomes easy because every mic for one microservice we have four members of team, and we can easily develop, and each team can work individually, like they need not to worry about the others applications related things. Just they have to focus on one thing and they can work simultaneously. So large project we can divide into simple microservices, and then we can like test other microservices. But testing becomes a little tough because of this microservice architecture. So contact testing and all we have to do.
Okay. Can you come again? Like testing become difficult in the sense what I just want to know on that.
Yeah, so in that part, what happens? Suppose I am developing one user-related microservice, and some other is developing address-related microservice. At the end, what happens? These services will communicate each other. So
Mm-hmm.
that part we need to do once. So because some microservice fails, then
Mm-hmm.
address will not save. So that part is tricky, and that takes time. This testing takes
Mm-hmm.
time, but development it was easy.
Okay. So coming to this one, I mean, like, how do you do a session management on microservices? How did you implement it?
Session across the microservice, that is Saga design pattern we can use, and
Okay.
Apache Kafka generally we are implementing because of it is a synchronous communication that it might fail, but if it is an asynchronous communication, then we can produce one message and some other
Mm-hmm.
microservice will consume that message and it will process that. In that way, I think it will manage the session.
So you know how the load balancing is achieved here in microservice architect. Any idea on that? How they configure the load balancing?
Load balancer at what side? Client side or server?
Client side.
Client side, I think Fusion client we can use for load balance,
Okay.
but currently we are not
Any
using.
idea on ribbons and all? No.
Yeah, Ribbon client also. Ribbon client we can use.
So which you have used it actually, ribbon or
And
Fusion?
no, no, currently we are not using any.
Oh, and you told about auto scaling, right? Is project is configured? I mean, it is already enabled, or whenever you require, you do a manual auto scaling. How it is for a
Uh,
particular matter?
yeah, so it should be like automatic because based on the request it should increase. So Kubernetes in that we can configure like this, so it automatically scale. So
Okay. So it automatically scales as a load. I mean, like
yeah,
a load increases on that
load
particular
increases.
one. So you have said that. So coming to Java, so I hope you would have been part of Java and not it.
Yes.
Can you take one feature and explain what's special about feature and that is not available in other version? Just talk about how
Uh,
it is advantage. And just go ahead.
which version? Java 8?
Java 8, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Any one feature you can take
Okay.
and you can tell what is the advantage of having that and
Mhm.
how it is used.
So Java 8 that feature like lambda expression, that is what that was not there earlier. Because so earlier what we have to do in function, if you want to implement, we need to use anonymous inner class. That too it will create a separate dot class for us, and then we need to load that class. So it is a bulk kind of thing. And in the case of functional programming, what it provides, we can implement a class like a function, so it
Mhm.
will not create create separate dot class file in our generated folder. And
Mm-hmm.
apart from that, we can implement like in a one line, like it provides concise code. We need not to
Mm-hmm.
write multiple line of code.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the feature, and we can achieve by using functional interface.
Okay. You heard about streaming APIs in Java 8?
Yes, yes. So
So you know what is the purpose of that? I mean, like what you achieve from that streaming using the streaming API?
yes, yes. Earlier, what happens in the list or something, like we have to perform some bulk operation, then it would be difficult us to write inside the for loop and perform some operations. But in the case of streaming, what it does, like we can create stream by using dot stream function, and we can perform bulk operation, like we can find max value, find min value, sum of the values, and like filter kind of thing. If we want to do, we can
Okay.
achieve through the. So it has.
Streaming. UI part did you work or you didn't work streaming?
Actually, yeah, I worked on Angular as well earlier in my
Okay.
organization,
Okay.
but as a developer, I worked, but I did not go into that much depth, but I can manage.
Okay. Okay. No, no, just asking. I mean, like,
Yeah.
if you know any framework and so in Java, right? Suppose if I don't want to assume that I don't want to serialize. I mean, like a particular value. So how to achieve that?
Okay.
Do you know how to do?
Okay. So I think it transient is there. Apart from that, one more externalizable is there where we can provide. Suppose list. I have five values and I want only one that not to be serialized. So then we can implement in the externalizable interface. And
Mhm.
I think transient is one by which we can avoid that field. So it should not be.
And how about your database part? Like how comfortable you are on the database side?
Yes, I've used MySQL and Oracle and SQL Server. So developer level work I can do. Yes, whatever it is
Okay.
required to.
I mean, like basic queries and all, you'll be able
Yes,
to write.
yes.
You'll be able to write a store proc and all, store proc triggers.
Long back I returned, but I have
Yes.
idea about that. Okay, we can.
So you know this we have a property called asset property in database. Do you know what is that
Asset,
each property means? Yeah, asset
asset. Yeah, yeah.
ACID. Can you just tell
Autom.
tell about all the properties why we need that
I
asset?
think A for atomicity,
Yeah,
C for consistency,
yeah,
I for isolation,
yeah.
and D for durability. These are the properties. Atomic means a separate transaction, we can say, like
Mm-hmm.
individually it can run, no one can disturb it.
Mm-hmm.
Isolations are the labels in the transaction where we can provide which isolations our transaction will execute. Like we have multiple isolation labels in Hibernate as
Mm-hmm.
well, where we can define that this will read, commit, write. For I think four or fives are available. Yeah,
Memberships.
yeah. And durability means that application will perform. Suppose if I perform some operation, then it should be there, should not be
Mm-hmm.
rollbacked or something like. Our database should be robust so that it will whatever the changes we are doing, it will be available whenever we are checking that.
Okay. And what about consistency?
Yeah, consistency. Yeah, suppose two tables we are updating and two persons are requesting at same time, and I am adding something and someone adding other things, so it should not be mixed up. So it should be consistent.
So you know joins, right? You would have heard about joins.
Yes.
So what are the uses of joins actually?
Yes, so to get the data from multiple tables, we can use joins. Like I have
Yeah.
user table and I have address table, so I want address of that particular user. So I can join two tables and conclude whatever the result I can provide to the customer.
And you heard about normalization? What is normalization on that?
Yes, normalizations are something like can say it is a type like one NF, two NF, three NF. What happened? We can have database design like we are designing our database. So if it is we are holding duplicates data and
Mm-hmm.
we having duplicate columns as well. So these things require normalization. If we normalize the data and database, so it will be easier for us. Otherwise, it will take our space. Like if we have duplicate rows and columns, so it is the overhead on our system.
Coming to this thing, I mean, like, do you have anything like you do even DR failover and all disaster recovery? Do you configure those also as part of your application? I mean, like in case of failover, so you even handle that, or there'll be a separate team which will be taking care
Failover, we have operations team that case.
Okay.
But some extent we are doing like suppose our message is failing, so we have implemented a Kafka reconciliation. So
Mm-hmm.
at that
Mm-hmm.
time we are saving in some other Cassandra database, so it will save those failed messages. Once
Mm-hmm.
server is up, then we will push those.
So you told about Kafka, right? So we have many technologies available in the market. I mean, like you have Spring integration, you have Solace, you have Infuse. Why only Kafka? Any particular reason?
One particular reason for that, like Kafka provide multiple consumers, like other MQ, IBM MQ and all, we have only one consumer. So in our case, what happened? We have multiple, for those we want to provide the consumer services. So that's why we have used Kafka, not MQ.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in case of failure in Kafka, I mean, like suppose think that a producer has sent a message
Mhm.
and on other end the consumer is unable to consume due to some technical fault. Okay. So in that case, what will happen to that message? Where exactly it gets stored? Any idea on that?
Yeah, Kafka stored, it will remain in the Kafka itself. Yeah.
Okay. So
So
until you mean to say like until the consumer at the other end doesn't consume the message, it will remain still on Kafka. Is there any duration for that message?
yes, I think it's
Yes.
there is a duration for, but
Okay.
I'm not aware of that because it's configured in our console, so I don't have that much permission to
Okay. Yeah.
update those
Suppose,
messages.
see,
Yeah.
in case of MQs or Solis, right, whenever your queue is going down, we will be having a system where alert sends alert so and so queue is down and it's unable to consume. So such kind of thing is also available in Kafka.
Alerting.
Yeah, either producer is going down or your consumer is going down.
So
So
for
how do you will come to know, or who is monitoring continuously Kafka? Like everything is working fine end to end. How?
yes, for that purpose we have added. So whenever we get some error, so it will raised like it will send email to the respective team so that they can directly check either the problem of message, either the problem of Kafka, whatever the problem, it will alert.
Okay. So, tell me, I mean, like, as a developer in that application, right? What most difficult situation you have ever come? I mean, like, so did you face any issue that was there for a long time and finding a solution for it was a bit difficult? Any such scenario did you encounter, and how did you overcome that scenario?
But yeah, 2 3 days I can find the issues. Recently, what happens? One issue was facing like
So, any kind of issues like, I mean, like performance wise on application, you did you see any such kind of issues and how you ensure that the performance is not degraded? Those kind of issue did you fix or did you get
yes,
chance?
yes, yes. I got chance in my previous. We have detail search. By what happens? We are calling one REST service and it is providing the data, and that too
Mm-hmm.
it is providing hundred of fields, but we requires
Mm-hmm.
only 5 fields. We are calling those, and even we have a database available. So what we did there, we just instead of calling that detail search service, we are calling a hibernate call. So it reduced time complexity. Like it was increasing around 2 to 3 minutes, and now it's we are calling in fraction of seconds. So it
Okay.
enhanced
So,
the
what did you do? I mean, like you replaced a Hibernate call.
hibernate. Yeah, we just
Earlier it was.
earlier it was rest call.
Okay. But don't you think that there'll be a cost if you are doing a BB call? I mean, just
Yeah, there is a like it is less than that call. Like if we are calling external API, it is also hitting that Hibernate query. But what happens? They have multiple joins there. So instead
okay.
of
Got it.
multiple joins, we reduce only one join there. So
Okay. Got
that
it.
way it reduced. The query was same actually, but what happened? Instead of fixing, we have fixed permanently, so that performance never degrade.
Did you anytime encounter session replication issues in your microservice anytime?
No.
And do your project has a CI/CD pipeline?
Yes, yes.
So who's taking care of it? The CI/CD pipeline? You developer or you have a separate team who configure the CI?
For configuration, it is already configured. For application level, we are taking care. Like if we want to trigger, then we need to configure our Jules file, Jules
Okay.
Jenkins files we have, and we can configure there, and we are
Okay.
managing.
What is the source code repository you're using for your
Bitbucket.
build? And coming to this one, I mean, like, apart from this, do you have any security tools you use? I mean, like, how you handle? It's only Sonar which you are taking care, or any other security tool which you are using to scan your code base and come up with vulnerabilities, fix them?
One more toolkit we have secured for vulnerability also. Like we have one toolkit. Like if it has, then we need to rectify. Then only we can deploy in the UAT environment. Otherwise, we cannot deploy. So
Okay.
yeah.
So that is mandatory, like before you push the code to
Yes.
your UAT, you have to do that and okay.
Yes. Without
What level is mandatory? I mean, like you have classification on vulnerability, right? Which level of vulnerability should be resolved before you push it to use? Such levels being defined, like
Yes, yes,
critical,
the
high, level.
labels. Yes, yes. One, two, and three type are there. For
Okay.
four type, I think we need not to worry about. I mean, one and two we are taking care. I think these are
Okay.
critical.
And any unit testing tool you use for your application?
Yes, Mockito GU testing.
Okay. And requirement part and all, how you track those requirement end to end thing? I mean, like, do you have any dashboard kind of a thing where you track everything? I mean, like from requirement, from developer point of view, defect, everything. How do you track all those things? How to link one another, I mean, like, with the feature?
Yes, we have Jira in that case. So we are
Okay.
managing, like, we have backlogs, and backlogs we have all the things. If we found defect, then we can raise defect and we can create card for it. So
Okay.
separate.
You raise your defect also in Jira or any other tool you maintain and you track in Jira?
Defect also we are using and provide